Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to Aarti Drugs Limited Q2 FY22 earnings conference call. This conference call may contain forward-looking statements about the company which are based on the beliefs, opinions and expectations of the company as on the date of this call. These statements are not the guarantees of future performance and involve risks and uncertainties that are difficult to predict. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference, please signal an operator by pressing star and 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Adhish Patil, CFO, Aarti Drugs Limited. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and season's greeting to all of you present on the call to discuss our financial results for Q2 and H1 FY22. Aarti Drugs delivered a resilient performance despite continuous input cost pressures. Before I take you through the performance highlight, let me remind you that as communicated in the earlier earnings call, the financial performance on a year-on-year basis is not exactly comparable, especially in terms of realizations and margins because of the elevated API prices driven by sudden supply disruptions due to COVID-19 related lockdowns during H1 FY21, that is last year. I will now take you through segment-wise performance. Standalone business performance. Standalone revenues for Q2 FY22 stood at rupees 511.6 crores. This contributed approximately 87% to the consolidated revenue. 63% of this revenue came from the domestic market and 37% from the export market. Domestic revenue degrew by approximately 4.5% and exports grew by around 7% on year-on-year basis. However, contraction in domestic business is predominantly due to higher volume in Q2 FY21, largely due to the reasons mentioned earlier. API volume growth remained largely flattish on the account of lower than anticipated volume growth in antibiotics segment. Within the API segment, the antibiotic therapeutic category contributed around 46%, anti-protozoal around 17%, anti-inflammatory around 13%, anti-diabetic around 11%, antifungal around 10%, and the rest contributed around 3%. The share of acute therapies remained subdued due to the second wave of COVID-19 induced lockdowns. Now we'll discuss formulation segment performance. For the quarter, revenue for formulation stood at rupees 75.7 crores, a growth of 6.4% on year-on-year basis. Approximately 26% of the formulation revenues came from the exports during this quarter. Now, on a consolidated basis for Q2 FY22, revenue stood at rupees 579.7 crores, EBITDA at rupees 73.8 crores, and PAT rupees 42.6 crores, respectively. EBITDA margin came in at about 12.7%. As mentioned earlier, EBITDA margins are not exactly comparable on the year-on-year basis, though we were expecting much higher than the actual performance in this year as well. For H1 FY22, revenue from operations stood at rupees 1161.3 crores as against rupees 1124.3 crores, up by 3.3% on year-on-year basis. EBITDA stood at rupees 155.1 crore. EBITDA margin came in at about 13.4%. PAT stood at rupees 91.4 crores. On a consolidated level, supply chain disruptions due to sudden power outages in China continued upward trajectory in the key raw material prices. A sudden spike in the coal prices due to demand supply gap, elevated freight cost due to shortage of shipping containers, and one-off arrear expenses related to the revision in the wages kept the EBITDA margins suppressed for the current quarter. However, as a strategy, the company continued to focus on maintaining the leadership position for its top revenue contribution products. The company will continue to follow the same strategy going forward as well. In order to mitigate the impact of higher input costs, the company proactively undertook price hikes from time to time across the therapeutic areas to sustain the EBITDA margins. However, EBITDA margins and profitability did not commensurate with the input price hike growth due to the lag in passing on the price hikes, as many of the events that led to sudden upward movement in the input costs were due to unforeseen events such as China power outage, coal price hikes, port congestions across the globe, etc. And hence, there was some lag in passing on this increased cost. We believe that the coal prices, high freight costs are short-term in nature, and raw material prices are expected to taper off by the end of FY22. The company is considering further price hikes in the coming days if the raw material price momentum sustains. As a result, EBITDA margins are expected to come back to the normal levels within the next couple of quarters. Looking beyond the short-term challenges, the company is confident of achieving EBITDA margins in the range of 18% over the next 2 to 3 years, driven by the ongoing transition towards lifestyle and chronic therapies, backward integration, and operating leverage. The investing cash flow for H1 FY22 stood at 77 crores and is expected to remain in the range of about 100 to 125 crores for the remaining part of FY22, funded through a mix of internal accruals and debt. The pace of capex was impacted to some extent due to incessant rains in Gujarat and Maharashtra state during the quarter and the second COVID wave during the start of this year. The balance sheet continues to remain strong with a comfortable net debt to equity of about 0.5x as of September end 2021. The company is well on track of growing the contribution from high-value lifestyle and chronic therapeutic areas and reducing share from acute therapies from the API business segment. Similarly, specialty chemicals and intermediate business is expected to grow at a robust pace driven by the niche value proposition and multiple industry and geopolitical tailwinds. On a formulation business front, the company has a robust pipeline of products under development with multiple therapeutic areas. The company remains confident about the opportunities across all the businesses. We can now begin the Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on your touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. We will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Ladies and gentlemen, to ask a question, please press star and 1 on your touchtone phone now. We have a first question from the line of Rashmi Sancheti from InCred Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Just want to have a query on gross margin. How many other products apart from metformin we are dependent on China, and in which all major products we are facing high input costs?
Yeah. So to answer this question, our out of the total RM purchases, around 55% coming from imports, and that is spread across the products that way. And recently, also there are two factors why the prices went up. One was because of the power outages, which created shortage in supply, and second was the freight which got increased, and hence the RM prices were revised upwards. So the thing is, we do have option of procuring these raw materials from alternate sources, but then the thing is, once the supply shortage is created, these particular RMs, even if we procure from other parts of the world, the prices are still high. So that is the reason why across the board, means I can tell you that 17 out of top 23 RM products which we procure, both import and domestic, both included, we saw that in the September month the prices were maximum out of all the 6 months for this year.
But in antibiotic segment, what I understand, for all the major products, which contribute significantly to the overall revenue, that is backward integrated, right? So is there something called basic chemicals or something which is used in even those products? We are seeing some sort of price pressure?
Yes, we do.
Okay, and what is the, on your metformin product, is it something that, we have underutilized the capacity because of the high RM cost for this quarter, or how is it?
So right now we are having good orders of metformin. The capacity utilization has been fairly okay. Though not fully utilized, but fairly okay. Your point is quite valid in the sense that because this September quarter, the prices were so volatile and the situation was so dynamic and fluid that, openly taking a lot of orders for our finished good was a little bit of a challenge, because we were not sure that how the RM prices are going to react in future. So in such scenario, taking, orders in bulk is also a challenge, and that is why we also went slow, and perhaps that is also one of the reasons why a lot of volume growth is not seen in this particular quarter.
Only in this product, or it is across other products also we have seen the same challenges, and that is why the volume growth was low?
This is for across all the products. This was a challenge.
Okay. And if you can just, guide, you commented that the demand for the antibiotics has come down. Is it because of the challenges in higher input costs, or what exactly? If you can throw some light, why the demand has come down?
So the overall, so there are two things to it. We also went slow in taking the orders. That is one reason why we might have temporarily lost on few orders. But overall also, there are few antibiotic products where the demand was very strong as per the numbers published. What needs to be considered here is that for 1.5 years, there was almost, because of the COVID, people were afraid to go to hospitals. So the people who were about to get operated now, the hospitals are quite full in terms of operations. But then the kind of antibiotics which are used in those kind of applications are different, and the ones in which we are, fluoroquinolones, are different. And the application area for our antibiotics is more related to either respiratory infection or stomach infection or UTIs, which mostly happen when people are going out and eating outside. Now that has picked up. The situation is much better. And with this complete second vaccination, I think that demand will be back very soon.
Okay. And sir, one last question. What is after the subdued quarter in terms of gross margins, what kind of gross margins are we seeing for the entire FY22?
The thing is, the first 2 quarters, more or less, it remained similar. Though we were expecting an improvement in this quarter, and frankly speaking, we were seeing in the middle of the quarter, we were seeing an improvement. But then again, because of the new macroeconomic factor, again the gross margin slide down further. So we expect December month to be choppy, but March or December quarter. but March quarter should ideally we should be improving on the gross margins. And once the situation stabilizes, means there are no more further hikes in the raw material prices, then the improvement in the gross margin should start coming in.
So from the fourth quarter, can we expect your regular gross margins of around 35 to 36% to come back?
We can definitely target that, provided there are no further price hikes or no further changes in the market conditions.
Okay. Sir, I have more questions. I'll get back in the queue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. To ask question, participants may press star 1. We have next question from the line of Abdul Qadir Puranwala from Elara Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. So in your opening remarks, you mentioned you have taken a price hike this quarter. Would you be able to quantify the quantum of the price hike which has been taken?
That's a little difficult to say. That's little difficult to say, but if we see at our top 10 products, I can see that if we look at last 5 quarters, that is September 20th quarter till September 21st quarter, last 5 quarters, in the top 10, almost for 80% of the products, the prices are maximum in the last 5 quarters as of September 21 quarter. But then the problem was the increase in the raw material prices was even sharper, and that is the reason why the gross contribution shrink a little.
Sure, sir. And also, next question is on the inventory. So what is the typical raw material inventory which we have on at the plants? Considering now that the raw material prices are up, so are we at the same level itself what we were a year ago, or we are trying to be a little conservative and hopeful of the prices coming back, and this is why we will not have much?
So actually the situation is very, very challenging. So more from the prices, we are more worried from the shortages point of view, But we are carrying about somewhere in late 40s in terms of days of RM inventory.
Sure. And just a final question, if I may. On the formulation side, so the export, though it is growing, but in the overall pie, if you see, domestic is again quite high, at 74%, as compared to exports, which is just 26%. So any reason why there is lower traction in export from the last 2 quarters?
For formulations, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Vishwa, can you answer that?
So actually, there are 2 reasons. One is in the formulations, we are also slightly dependent on some of our tender orders, which in this particular quarter we had the lower execution of tender orders, and also some of the shipments because of logistical issues. Export consignment shipments have been lower, and that due to that export execution was low, and domestic business has been steady and growing. That's why the percentage on the domestic is higher. However, with more and more registrations coming in and more product list expanding and also markets expanding, we are quite confident over the next couple of quarters export business will be contributing much higher percentage in our overall sales.
Sure. And just final, if I may, so what would be the current capacity utilization on the API and formulation side?
So for the API side, it will be for last quarter it was near about 70, about that much. And for the formulations also, Vishwa?
Yeah, for formulations also it will be about 75%, between 70 to 75%.
Sure. Yeah, that would be all from me. Thank you for answering my question.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have next question from the line of Chirag Dagli from DSP Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, you are.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So you mentioned 55% of raw material purchased is imports.
Correct.
How much of this is China, sir, or from China?
Around 80% of the imports would be from China as of now.
Okay. Also, you mentioned, so would there be final API products also where you compete with China, and there also there could be some supply challenges, and hence, it'd be easier for you to take price hikes? Is there a set of products which fall into this bucket?
Yes. Harit bhai, would you like
Yeah. Yeah, there are many products, particularly antibiotics, we are competing with China. So we are revising rates, and even Chinese companies have revised their rates, and we are also getting better price relation in exports now. We started getting better relation. Yeah.
So, can you quantify, sir, what percentage of our...
It depends on the product to product. Basically, the situation is so volatile. For example, coal prices, which went to $200 a ton, now today it is $160, and the Chinese government target is to do at 83. So there is so much volatility. So the power cost also has gone up, and it will come down. So, and as of now, whatever raw material increase percentage-wise, whatever we have got increased, so that much increase we have done in sales price, basically. Also, the cost of utility has gone up, so we are also taking that account. So overall, we want to have that stable margin, basically. Yeah. So we hope that we will be in exports. We will be getting better margins. But whatever old contract we have, but besides that, we will try to get better prices. Yeah.
Understood, sir. And you mentioned about some one-time staff costs for the quarter, which would not be recurring. Can you quantify what this number is?
It was slightly less than 1 crore.
Acha, so not much, basically. Okay. And the last question was, you mentioned capacity utilization in APIs is 70%. For which products is it lower, and for which products is it higher? Just broadly, some sense. Some extremes, wherever you are seeing dramatically lower utilization.
No, there is no such product where there's extreme, lower utilization. It is more or less across the board.
Understood. So, and this should normally scale back to how much over a very short period?
So it should scale back to at least late 70s, 75 to 80%.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Adesh. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have next question from the line of Nilesh Joshi from GL Capital. Please go ahead.
Sir, thank you for the opportunity. The question again relates to gross margin reduction on YOY basis. You alluded that the largely is because of the raw material price increase and that from China, and that too because of some power shortage, and the cost of power has gone up. But if I remember, and what we read from the newspaper and understand, is that the real power shortage and the cost of power has happened from August, September, whereas the supply chain would have forced you to buy these raw material at least 3 months in advance. So am I missing something in the process? So the impact of this power shortage and the price increase should actually happen in Q3 and not in Q2. Am I missing something in between?
No, see, what the logic what you're pointing out is in a sort of way it is correct. But then what happens is there are some prices or some materials which you are also buying locally. But whenever such a thing happens, some news come out, immediately those prices are revised. So the local purchases the lead time is very short.
But sir, that would not be a very high percentage, right? Because to impact 7% on the overall revenue, the local purchase would not be to that extent would have impacted. Or the other way to understand, sir, is that what kind of price increase actually has happened for those intermediates and raw materials? on a YOY basis, if you can just quantify in a percentage terms, what kind of actual price increase have you seen?
Actually, I don't have that number. You mean, but will try to find out and then release.
Yeah,
I'll just add one thing. Like what has happened, this power shortage and outage started in August.
Correct.
And what has happened immediately, Indian producers of basic chemicals, to give you an example, formic acid, which was available at 45 rupees, they have increased the price to 125 rupees. So it's more than 100%, you know.
Right.
So there I can give you example of at least 10-15 chemicals which price they made almost 2 times, 3 times price, you know. Although the Chinese shipments were still coming at old price, but the domestic price in China went up, so they immediately increased the price here.
I see. Okay.
That too government company also. Like caustic flakes, which was available at say 30 rupees a kilo, now it is available at 60 rupees a kilo. So it is a commodity driven. It requires in all the APIs, you know, basically these chemicals. Yeah. So this local chemical producer also increased the rate, you know, that has also caused a lot of disturbance.
So those are not purchased on some monthly basis, or those are?
No, they are spot purchases. We have contract, but they what this time they have done, every 7 days they revise their price. You know.
I see.
Yeah.
So during these quarters, whether the product prices have fallen, I mean, if I look at last year versus current year, is there any change, downward revision in the product prices? For example,
no, except metformin, otherwise no. Yeah.
So more or less the product prices have remained same.
Yeah, it has gone up in fact.
To answer your question, the selling prices you are asking.
Right.
So September 20, that is the last September quarter, the prices were high, but then the prices had come off in December and March quarter, and then again in June quarter and September quarter they went up, and current September quarter's prices are as high or in some cases higher than the September 20 quarter.
Okay. But in that case, sir, what has happened that why our revenue is flat YOY?
That mainly is because of the fact that, as I was saying, in this volatile situation, it's very difficult to go aggressive in taking orders. Because if you fix long term, because in such situation, customer comes and they start asking that we want to fix price for 3 months down the line, and we want to give you order, something like that. But then that is risky for us, so we took it little slow in this particular situation, volatile situation.
But sir, then what kind of our revenue is on spot basis we sell, and what could be on a long term, especially on the volume side? I can understand pricing would depend on the formula or something.
Difficult, but I can give you some sense. Like for example, say 65% is domestic, 35% is exports. In API, at least I'm talking about.
Right.
So in that, in export market, usually the pending order is 2.5 to 3 months.
Okay.
And domestic market, there are few customers like MNCs operating in India. They are trying to fix price for 3 months and all. But then there are few B and C type of customers who order like 10-15 days lead time for that much period.
But do they not give us, sir, some kind of planning or some kind of advance intimation that it is really a spot based?
No, the organized players they do.
Okay.
But then there are a lot of kind of formulation players in the market. So
right. So out of our business, what kind of domestic sales we do through dealers and the traders in this, or everything is sold directly to the formulator?
Yeah, most of our sales is directly to the formulation companies. Most of the sales, yeah. Okay. Except some companies where we are not sure of our payment.
Right.
Payment issues, yeah.
Okay. So thank you for answering.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have next question from the line of Cinderella Carvalho from Centrum Broking. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for my question. Adish, could you help us understand, out of the top 10 products, if we look at, where are we seeing the demand weakness, and what is the outlook that we have? Any sense that you can provide on these? And just to support that, if we look at the demand scenario, simultaneously, if you can highlight out of the top products where we see EBITDA level pressure more, and what is the view on that?
EBITDA level pressure?
So, which are the products when you're seeing the impact of the higher raw material or the volatility in the market leading to the kind of pressure that we are seeing in our P&L? So if you could relate the demand with the EBITDA and explain to us, would be very helpful.
So as far as, because this raw material prices went up across the board, typically all the products face that pressure. But especially even the anti-diabetic products, a lot of new capacities came up, and plus the raw material prices are also going up for that product sharply. So the market was quite volatile. So in last 6 months, we have seen that even anti-diabetic segment, the profitability had gone down as compared to previous years. But then we are seeing signs of recovery based on the orders which we are having in September month, which we took in September month and in October. So it's dynamic because the prices were changing so drastically. It's difficult to pinpoint. Once the raw material prices stabilizes, and after that in 2 months time, it will be very much clear that whether the slide in margin is slightly on permanent basis or it is very temporary. And as far as demand is concerned, there is no specific category where we feel that it's a matter of concern. It is just matter of time. For antibiotics, yes, as I said, that the kind of applications in which we operate are stomach infection, respiratory infection, and UTI. So those kind of, for that therapy, the demand was slightly lower because of this second wave.
But apart from that, the new launches also in the cardio segment that we had planned, they haven't created any support. What is the outlook there? And when we are talking only about anti-infective and anti-diabetic, what about the other key therapies of Zols that we have? What is happening there exactly? And how should we see these things? Because anti-infective, when you say, even in the base year, we had a complete miss on that segment as such. So where do we see this coming back? And do we have any sense around the demand per se?
Yeah. So if we compare our half yearly basis, so we have lost mainly in this only, as I said, antibiotic and antiprotozoal, and mainly the products which are going in the application areas which I highlighted. So it will come back. It will come back. So we are not much worried about that. And once the demand is back, the margins ideally should also be slightly better, because now what happens is then it is like a temporary excess supply for reduced demand. So the margins also contract in that scenario.
Sorry, one more on the scenario, the way we have described raw material and our contracting with our suppliers or our buyers. How do you envisage any strategy to protect ourselves in a better way going ahead? Is there any possible solution or strategy that you guys are working on, or is it on cards, or do you think the scenario will continue?
There are two things. There is a limit also, means how much a formulation company can absorb increased API prices, because for them also, it is a pressure situation. because ultimately the prices need to be paid by the consumer, in the MRP. So once this situation stabilizes, only then we'll be able to really forecast something. But the thing is, in past also what we have seen, that most of the time such situations are temporary in nature, and ultimately a new norm is formed. And when that will be formed, then again the margins will be like before.
No, it's not just the margins. I'm trying to understand that from a raw material exposure and the volatility that we are experiencing, do we have any strategy in mind? Like we have said in past that we are backward integrated in most of the products, but still we are facing these kind of volatility because of basic solvents and at large on a basket level inflation in terms of raw materials. So do we have any strategy here which can protect us going ahead, or are you guys working on it? And the supply side, what I mean is when you look at contracting, when you talk about your contracts domestically or in export term, could there be any provisions take care of such volatility which will help us to have a more sustainable P&L going forward?
So the thing is, there are few contracts which are cost based. So there the impact is not much. But then there are few contracts which we take like 3 months or 4 months basis. So anyways, the prices are revised for 3 months. But within that 3 months, then there won't be any. It's very difficult for us to go back to the customer and say that we want to increase the price of the existing 3-month contract, because that is anyways in short term nature. So we may not be able to do that. But for longer contracts, definitely we have that clause in writing.
Okay, and
as far as backward integration, is concerned, thing is this particular situation, what we are seeing is not structural in nature as such. So if it is like so in past also, whenever we see that there is very high profits to be made on a long-term basis for any particular KSM or something, then we definitely do backward integration. But right now, based on the current scenario, I don't think we have any new plans, though we do have a line of products where we have already done R&D, where we can put the plant if we want to, but we don't want to do it right now because we want to let the situation stabilize and then make a decision on it.
Any quick update on the USFDA side and on the capex where we are in terms of our expected timelines?
Yeah. So as far as capex is concerned, right now the speed is very fast. Though the first half of the year had suffered a little because of the two factors which I highlighted sometime back, that is the second wave and because of the rainy season, the civil work got delayed a little bit. But otherwise, all the projects have started, and couple of greenfield sites we are planning to start the production by the end of next calendar year, that is calendar year 2022. And USFDA side, we are at a very advanced stage. We are getting mock audit done from ex-USFDA inspector. But then the thing is, we recently got Australian audit done for the same plant, and that will go through. It will be cleared.
Thanks. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have next question from the line of Manish Poddar from Nippon India. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Adesh and team. So, kindly 3 questions. First one is, this freight situation, has this now, probably stabilized? And do you bill on CIF basis or how's that?
Yeah, Anik bhai, would you like to?
Yes, freight situation is started from China point of view. There are a lot of containers because of their power shortage. We are getting shipments on time now, at least as far as timing is concerned. Otherwise, there was a delay of shipment from China, and freights have come down from peak levels around 20 to 30% correction is there from China point of view. From India, the situation is getting normalized, but there is still delay in some countries where we want to export. But things I think will get streamlined in next 2 quarters, more or less.
Okay. Could you also talk about, let's say, is there any, let's say, issue with, let's say, power supply, let's say, at the facility? Or any, let's say, cost inflation on the power side? Given that power, yeah, for us. Because I think power as a percent of sales should be 4 to 5% of sales, right?
Yeah, but power and fuel has gone up because of the coal. Is that what you're asking for the quarter?
Yeah. So let's say incrementally. For the quarter, it's not done, but let's say incrementally.
So there was a rate variance which there was 50% hike in the coal prices for the last quarter. So that is the reason why the power and fuel segment has gone up for us. But as soon as these prices come off, then it will again go down.
Okay. And I guess one last one. So could you probably talk about supply from China, both in terms of, let's say, raw material and, let's say, competitive intensity in terms of finished products? How is that?
Yes. So the thing is, in lot of therapies, especially antibiotic therapy, and in some cases anti-protozoals also. In some cases, we do compete with China as far as our finished product is concerned. So there definitely will get benefit. And as far as the raw material, as we said, that 55% of our total purchase is around imports, and of that, around 80% comes from China. So their situation means still it's very volatile. So we'll come to know in a month or two how it stabilizes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. We have next question from the line of Rashmi Sancheti from InCred Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the follow-up again. Just to get a better sense, again on gross margin, usually, our revenues majorly come from the domestic business. And what I understand that, the price hike, the transferring the price to the customer is a bit faster than the export business. So is it something that, we have already started doing that, or we expect that, the price hike on the product, which will be transferred to the customer, would be taken place in the third quarter?
As I was saying that we are taking price hikes, and but the problem was the back-to-back RM was also increasing. So whatever hikes we took for, say, for the month of April, May, June, that is for. But then again, the RM prices kept on increasing till the month of September. So it is a continuous process. Definitely, we are getting better realization now for the products, for the finished products. But we need to see how it pans out. How much you are able to pass and how much further price hikes will take place at the input side, or whether they will taper off. So that is yet to be seen.
For in exports also we have taken that for the export contracts.
For export contracts, the contracts are usually for 2.5 to 3 months. That means a pending order. So there will always be a lag of 2.5 to 3 months for increasing the prices.
Okay. And how many months inventory usually we keep it because of this headwind which is coming from the China?
Which inventory? Raw material inventory?
Yeah, raw material inventory.
Raw material inventory, it is in late 40 in terms of days overall. So
Sorry, I didn't get it. Raw material inventory, you all keep it?
It is around 45 to 50 days.
45 to 50 days. And we normally do it on FIFO basis?
Yes.
Okay. So, if you are doing it on FIFO basis, you feel that, whatever inventory that you have purchased in, say, late second late second quarter as well as, in the beginning of the third quarter will also have an impact on fourth quarter, the gross margin?
Yes, typically yes, but then we are also taking now price hikes. So
it should offset that.
Yeah, to some extent it should offset that.
Okay. And what is the reason behind degrowth in the intermediate and bulk drugs? It is also because there also we have lost volume growth?
In the
the part which you combined with your specialty chemicals, intermediate and bulk drugs, I think there we have shown a drastic decline in sales on YOY basis.
So if you look at our half yearly performance, half yearly numbers, so in that the only culprit looks to be like this couple of antibiotics and antiprotozoal products, frankly speaking. The rest of the products are positive or flat.
No, what I'm trying to understand, I'm not talking about the API segment. I'm talking about the intermediate as well as the specialty chemicals, whatever breakup you have given in the presentation.
No, I'm talking from half yearly basis. So quarterly basis I'm not talking about, because sometimes the orders flow from one quarter to another quarter. So that can happen. But on half yearly basis there is no decline.
Okay, I got it that. And finally, on the gliptin plant, have we commercialized that plant or?
Gliptins, yes. Gliptins we recently commissioned and took commercial batches also in that plant. So it got commissioned recently, a month back. And we have already taken validation batches for the new gliptins. So a couple of gliptins, so it will be a new launch for us.
Okay. And lastly, last one question on the export side in formulation business. You mentioned that, shipments and everything were delayed and, you all have lost the sales in the export formulation business. So is it something that, this is just deferred and, going to come back in third quarter, or, the sales which is lost is not going to come back? On the export formulation side.
It will come back. I mean, the only thing is the orders are delayed. Dispatches are delayed. The dispatches are delayed. So it will flow into the next quarter.
Okay. So third quarter is expected to be better in terms of export formulation business.
Yeah. As of now, it looks good.
Yeah, slightly better than quarter we are expecting it to be. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir. That's it from my side.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have next question from the line of Chirag Dagli from DSP Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so thank you for the follow-up. Just a quick one. You said EBITDA margin should be back to normal levels in 2 quarters. What is that normal level?
So we are targeting in short term around 17 to 18% of EBITDA margin.
But that is what you're targeting long term also, no, Adish? You are
long term means when I say long term, in long term, once we launch all those products, greenfield products also, and the utilization goes up, then ideally it should go up.
Understood. So you are saying that fourth quarter we will start seeing this 17%?
For next 1 or 2 years, yeah, we are keeping a target of 17 to 18%.
No, Adish. In the initial comment you made, you said that EBITDA margin should be back to normal levels in the next couple of quarters, you mentioned.
Correct.
And then through the quarter you've been talking about price hikes, etc. So in the fourth quarter, is that what you're guiding to, that fourth quarter one will start seeing a 17 to 18% margin? That is the question.
Yes. So if no further changes in the market conditions, then we should start reaching that. Correct.
Okay. Thank you, Adish.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Adish Patil for closing comments. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you. So thank you everyone for joining us on this call. Please reach out to us, to our IR consultants, strategic growth advisors, or us directly should you have any further queries. And wish you a very happy and safe Diwali. We can now close the call. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Aarti Drugs Limited, that concludes this conference call. Thank you for joining with us, and you may now disconnect your lines.